everyone, it's Max. Today I am here with my entire owned TBR. I am very excited. I have quite a few books, gonna be honest, but not as many as I know a lot of people have. So I am gonna first show you my TBR shelf because I really like how it's organized, and then I'm about to take it all off and tell you about it. But first I am gonna show it to you because I'm very proud of it. Okay, here it is. It is dark down here, but it goes from red all the way to white, and then I do have books that are behind it. Most of them because they are like too tall, like so they wouldn't be able to fit here, and then also because it is full. And so I do have quite a few books actually that don't fit on here. But I'm so proud of this. I love it. I think it's so pretty, and now I'm about to destroy it. All right, I don't really have much of a plan for this, but what I think I am gonna do is I do have one series that I think that is what I'm going to start with, and then basically just go with all the books that were behind my TBR shelf because I've just pulled them all out, and then go with the books that are on the actual TBR shelf that we can see. But I am gonna start with the series, and I'm going to try and go in order of how I'm gonna read them, but I honestly cannot remember. But that is the rest of Joe Abercrombie's books. I am reading all of Joe Abercrombie's, like the Blade Itself World series, and so I have purchased the rest of the books except the sequel to A Little Hatred, which is The Trouble with Peace, because I'm going to get it once it's a paperback. I can't remember if I've pre-ordered it. I think I did, and so I'll just get it once it's a paperback because that's my December book, and the paperback does come out before December. I am very excited. I've only read a few short stories by Joe Abercrombie, but I already really enjoy his writing, and I'm really excited to see like where his universe goes. And honestly, I cannot totally remember the order that I'm gonna be reading these in, but it does start with The Heroes by Joe Abercrombie, Red Country, Best Served Cold, and then A Little Hatred. The angle just changed because I realized it was way too elevated. I am in a place that I don't actually like film ever, but that is because my TBR shelf is right underneath, like right where I am, so I just thought it made more sense. So I'm still trying to figure out like lighting and like where to angle everything. That is it for Joe Abercrombie. I do own his book of short stories, but they are on my Kindle, so that's not part of this. But I am really excited to read all of these. I did get the British versions through Book Depository because I don't really like the American versions. I do have the American versions of the first trilogy because I got them for my birthday. But other than that, I did get the British versions because I just think they look nicer than the American ones. All right, now we're just gonna start going through basically. Maybe next I'll go with books by authors that I've read before, not including my TBR shelf. So I guess that's what we're gonna do. The first book I'm gonna talk about is The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry by C.M. Waggoner. Now, I read C.M. Waggoner's first book last month. I am filming this in May, so I read Unnatural Magic back in April, and I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. So good. So I'm really excited about this one. This one does have a supporting character. One of the main supporting characters is the daughter of two of our main characters from Unnatural Magic. So I am really excited about this, but this follows a girl who is a troll. She's a human, she's a witch, and she's a con artist, but she is hired to protect someone. She's hired to become like a guard for someone, as well as two of the main characters' daughters, also a guard, and I think they're going to fall in love. And I honestly don't know much else about it. I didn't need to know much else about it. I am so excited. Now, this is not technically like a sequel to Unnatural Magic, but it does take place in the same world. And of course, like I said, we follow their daughter. I am a little nervous because I read a couple books last month where we followed children of characters that we've read before, and it just like, it annoys me when they end up being bad parents. One of the series I read, Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare, they're not bad parents, but they're just like, I think, stupidly obtuse. But then in another one, in Alana's daughter's book, like Alana admits to being a bad mom, and I hate it. I hate it when our main characters end up being bad parents because I want them to be good parents. Like, why do they always have to suck? And so I'm really hoping that our two characters are good parents, or they're just like never referenced, you know, like that's fine too. She is an adult, I believe. Wynn, I believe she is an adult, so like, you know, if they're not really referenced or they're not characters, that's fine. I just hope they don't turn out to be bad parents, because that just drives me crazy. This book I'm going to talk about is one that I have owned for quite some time, and that is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. This is the first book in his new huge space opera series that is about a first contact with aliens, and the back says, "Space holds countless secrets. She just found the deadliest one." I am a little nervous because I had not seen like anyone read it until Reagan from Peru's Project, and she didn't really like it. So I am a little scared about it. I know, like, I don't know much about it. I don't really want to know a lot about it. I just know it's first contact with aliens. It's hostile, I believe. And I'm just like, I am excited about it. Now, I read Aragon. I did not continue in the series, but honestly, I think it's because I listened to the audiobook in my car, like through a CD. So like when you do that, you can't change the speed. And so it was so slow and it took so long. And I'm wondering if like I should have either listened to the audiobook in a way that I could change the speed or just physically read the book. Because I think I might have liked it more if I had done that. So I am a little nervous going to this, especially because it's over 800 pages. It's huge. I mean, it is such a large book, and I mean heavy and hefty. And so I am a little nervous going into this, but I do hope to enjoy it. Next book I'm going to talk about has also been on my TBR for a long time, but I am so excited about it. And that is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Haro. She wrote The 10,000 Doors of January, which I really, really enjoyed. I read it, I can't remember if it was last year or no, it was last year. It was 2020, and I did really enjoy it. But this takes like a spin on the suffragette movement where they're witches, and that's all I know. But I really enjoyed The 10,000 Doors of January, and I have not heard any bad things about this, so I am really excited to pick it up. And now for the last of books that I have read, or authors that I've read from, is this giant, and this is an Affinity for Steel trilogy by Sam Sykes. I read the Seven Blades in Black series by Sam Sykes, and I loved the first one. I loved it. I think it was one of my favorite books of the year, or like a close like runner-up. I can't really remember. I think it was one of my favorite. I loved it. 10 Heirs of Iron did not love as much, but that did get me excited, and I saw that he had a compendium trilogy, and this was probably the worst mistake of my life because it is just huge. It is so hard to read. It is 1,400 pages, which I have read books that are that long before, Oathbringer being a main one. I can't remember if Rhythm of War is that long. I want to say no. I think it was like 1,200 pages, but it's just, I mean, this thing is huge. My arm hurts already, so I'm gonna have to just like be reading it by having it on my lap and reading it because it's ginormous. It is a trilogy. It is Tome of the Undergates, Black Halo, and The Skybound Sea. I do not know what this is about, so I'm just gonna read the back because it's like one of those like very short blurbs, but it says, when a man picks up a sword, there are only a few productive things he can do. And the very lowest of these things is to become an adventurer, like Lenk and his companions. For the right price, no deed is too dirty, no task is too dangerous, no foe too ferocious, not even a demon. So I think there's demons and he has to like kill them or something. And then there's, oh, maybe he has more books than I honestly thought he did. Because there's also like The City Stained Red and The Mortal Tally. Unless, is that part of this? I don't know. No, so I don't know. If I do love this as well, I'm going to pick up his other books. If I end up not liking it, we'll see. I am definitely going to continue the Sal the Cacophony series because I love Sal. So we'll see. But anyways, it's huge, and I probably regret buying this because I did not think it was going to be this hefty, and I'm a little sad about it. Next book I'm going to talk about might be part of a secret TBR. I'm not sure yet, though, and that is The Duke and I. Bridgerton, The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. This is obviously the book that Bridgerton is based on. This is the first book which does follow Daphne and Simon, and this is where Daphne and Simon decide to go into a fake relationship to get women off of Simon's back and to get like to make Daphne become more like desirable in the eyes of men. And so of course this enemies to fake relationship to lovers trope is my favorite. I am a little nervous because something happened in the show that I really didn't like. I'd say it's almost it is non-consensual. And so it really like, oh, I did not like it. And I do not think that the show did a good job of like resolving it, because I mean, it was Daphne against Simon. And honestly, I kind of want to say what it is so that people like are warned. Daphne, right? That's her name, right? Yeah. Daphne forces Simon to spend himself inside her. Because she wants kids, and even though she knows he doesn't want them, she forces him to do it. I did not like that. That is not okay. I mean, it's just not okay. And so she did that, and I really like didn't like it. And so I'm really, and then it was not really resolved in the show. They like never talk about it again. I really hope that it is different in this. It probably isn't, and that kind of breaks my heart. But at least each book follows a different Bridgerton sibling, so then we'll never have to think about it again. And yeah, so we'll see. The next book I got is one that I am prepared to cry, and I got this because my boss and his wife and I were at Costco and they had this and she said she loved it, so I picked it up. And that is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. And I do not actually know what this is about, but I think it's a love story, maybe between like a tattooist and a Jewish person. But, you know, it's obviously World War II historical fiction. I've heard amazing things. It's shorter than I thought it was going to be, honestly. This was the first time I ever saw it, like, in person. But it's, like, not even 300 pages. Like, nowhere near 300 pages. So that is, like, shocking to me. But I am excited. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about, I actually, like, originally bought for like my mom, but then I was kind of interested in it, and that is The Silent Wife by Karen Slaughter. And this follows Will Trent, who is looking for a serial killer, and he thinks, and they're following, I don't know. Oh, so then someone is killed and he thinks it's the same serial killer, but when he looks into it, he thinks it might be a dead police officer, and he's like, the police officer is like a hero something. I don't really know, but there's something in there. I have heard good things about Karen Slaughter. I have also heard she's very graphic and very morbid. I have not read anything by her. I'm not a big mystery thriller person. I don't read them very often, and I don't know. We'll see. I am a little nervous. This is, I think, probably one of her shorter ones. It's not even 500 pages. I know like some of her books are just so long and huge, so I am actually happy that I got one of the shorter ones, so that if I don't love it, it's not as big of a commitment as like a 600-page book. All right, and then the last book I have to talk about before I take apart my beautiful TBR shelf is That Way Madness Lies, Shakespeare's Most Notable Works Reimagined, edited by Dahlia Adler. I got this after I saw Kayla from Books and Lala read it in her Dewey's 24-hour readathon, because I am so intrigued by this. I enjoy Shakespeare. I enjoy his work. I do like his dramas more than his comedies, and I know this is split up like comedies, sonnet, and then dramas. My favorite is Julius Caesar, followed by Hamlet, and then Macbeth, and I am intrigued. I wrote my whole senior and high school dissertation on Hamlet and his adaptations, and like Hamlet adaptations, so we'll see. But I am excited. She enjoyed it more than like some short story collections that I've seen like her read, so I am hoping to also enjoy this. I am not the biggest short story collection fan, but I do like it when there's an obvious theme. So like the theme here is Shakespeare. I don't love it when anthologies like just like are random and they don't really feel like a theme. Like a Discovery of what was the short story collection that I recently read? It was something about wishes, and I just didn't think, A Universe of Wishes, and I just didn't think that there was actually much tying them together, the stories. But like this has an obvious tie, and that's Shakespeare, and I do love retellings, so I am excited. All right, so the next book I'm going to talk about is Master of One by Jada Jones and Danny Bennett. Now this is about a group of thieves who are sent to, I think, steal something. They have to steal 6 pieces of an immeasurably powerful ancient fae relic. And Rags, who is a thief, is like hired, and he or they put together, the 6 relics are 6 different people. And so I think they team up to actually go against the sorcerer. This was a fairy loot book. I want to say December's fairy loot book. I did not participate in December. I did in November, and then I have since the beginning of the year. But I am really intrigued by this. This seems like a really fun, I love a good heist tale. And so this seems like a really fun one, and I'm pretty excited about it, even though I obviously know like nothing about it. The next book I think has honestly been on my TBR the longest, and I am a little nervous about it. That's Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. This has been on so many TBRs, and I kept telling myself that the reason why I wasn't reading is because I was looking for very specific bookmarks that I'm going to grab right here, and I'm not sure why 2 of them are missing. That's something I'm gonna have to look into. But I did get Henry and his 6 wives magnetic bookmarks that I'm obsessed with. I am fascinated with the Tudor era. I wrote my senior in college thesis script on Henry VIII's last wife, Catherine Parr, which I'm just like, I enjoyed, but I like love this era. I have loved it for a long time. I've been very fascinated by it. Of course, Henry VIII sucks, but I'm fascinated by all of his wives, and I'm just like so intrigued by it. So when the last book in her trilogy came out, they were really like promoting it in Barnes & Noble. And that was the first time I had heard of Wolf Hall. And this tells the story of Anne Boleyn's fall through the eyes of Thomas Cromwell, who it was Henry's like one of his most trusted advisors, and he was the one who convinced him to like go away from the like Catholic faith and to start the Church of England so that he could divorce Catherine of Aragon and marry Anne Boleyn. And he gets in some seriously hot water after Anne Boleyn is murdered. Like, can't remember, I think he's murdered too. Spoiler alert, but you know, you can't really spoil history. I don't think that's fair. But I'm a little nervous. This will be the first one like that I've read that is from the male's point of view. I have only read books from like, I mean, obviously it's like fictionalized, but I've only read books where like the queen is the main character, and I'm just a little nervous about reading one where like a man is the main character, because boy did men do the women wrong. They just did. They really did not do that. They did them so dirty, and it just, I'm a little nervous, gonna be honest. And for the longest time, the only book that I'd ever read that referenced this was Boyfriend Material, and he said he DNF'd it. And I was like, oh, good. But then in The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, they talked about it in a good light. So I'm hoping I enjoy it. The next book is Set Fire to the Gods by Sarah Rosh and Kristen Simmons. I have really enjoyed Sarah Rosh's books. I've read them all except this one. And this is a dual perspective of one person is a gladiator and one person is, maybe they're both gladiators, and something happens where, oh, so Ash is our main character. She's a girl, and she vows to take action against her fire god because he has like stripped her country of their resources, and Madoc has an elemental magic, and I have a feeling it's gonna be fire. And so something happens. I don't know anything about this, obviously. I haven't heard anything about it either, but I do really enjoy Sarah Rosh. Kristen Simmons, I don't know if I've ever read anything by Kristen Simmons, but we'll see. Next book that I'm gonna talk about that I own is Ray Bear by Jordan Ifueko. And this is about a girl who is raised by, I don't know if it's her mom or if it's by someone else, and she is raised to kill the prince. And so when the prince holds these trials for people to come and try to become, I think, either his like protector or like a confidant, she decides to take the trials. And I think she's got like an unbreakable like oath bound onto her that she has to kill him, but she starts to like either gain like romantic feelings for him, or she like just starts to like him as like a person, so she doesn't want to carry out her duty. I have heard amazing things. This is taken book 2 by storm. I mean, it's just such a gorgeous cover. I think everyone can agree on that. Let me see if there's anything under the dust jacket. Oh, there is. It's beautiful. I am really excited. The sequel is coming out soon. All right, I just ran out of room, so I cleared out some room, but now I can't. I was still talking about Ray Bear. So the sequel, I think, either recently came out or is coming out soon. So I am hoping to pick this up and read it so that I can pick up the sequel when it comes out. The next two books are by the same author, and I have read one book by her before, and I'm hoping to really enjoy both of these. But the first one is The Harp of Kings by Juliette Marillier. This is a warrior bard's novel, and our main character is like this super famous harpist, or she's just really good at it, and she is tasked to retrieve a precious harp, because it's gone missing, and it's an ancient symbol of kingship, and if the instrument is not played at the upcoming coronation, the heir will not be accepted by the kingdom and it will be thrown into disarray. Faced with plotting courtiers and tight-lipped druids, an insightful storyteller, and a boorish crown prince, Laban, I'm gonna have to figure out how to pronounce that. Because it's, well, Siobhan, so like Levon maybe, soon realizes an otherworld power may be meddling in the affairs of the kingdom. This is, I'm pretty sure, like a pretty long series, honestly, and this is obviously the first book. Juliette Marillier is a very famous author, and so I am excited to pick it up. The next book, I think, is one of her most famous series, and that is Daughter of the Forest. And I think this is either just a retelling or it's just like a fairy tale-esque, where our main character's father remarries, but when he dies, there's a curse that is put on her family by her stepmother, and she has to like break the curse, but she's not allowed to speak. And I have heard amazing things. Reagan from Peruse Project just talked about this series in like fantasy books she's ashamed she hasn't read. And I was like, I own that. And so I am just so excited to pick up some Juliette Marillier. Again, there's at least, I'm pretty sure there's 4 or 5 books in this series, and there might still be books coming out. I'm not sure. I am hoping to love Juliette Marillier, even though I didn't love the other book that she wrote. It's because the characters really didn't do it for me, so I'm hoping that the characters do it for me in this. Next book is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this is about a group of people who are sent, who this like billionaire chose as his heirs, except they have to compete in these games to like win his entire estate and all his money and everything. I think this might be a standalone, which is like great. Just read this and be done. I'm not sure, but I do like Jennifer Lynn Barnes, so I do hope I enjoy this. The next book is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and this is the first book in a very famous YA mystery series where our main character is super into true crime, and she is accepted into this boarding school where the guy who started the boarding school, his wife and daughter went missing many years ago and have never been found, or they were murdered and the murderer was never found. And our main character decides to task herself with finding out who did it. And I think this is 2 timelines where we get in the past when it actually happened and in the present. Not sure about that though. And this is the first book in a trilogy. I've only heard amazing things about it, so I do hope to enjoy this. Next book is House of Salt and Sorrow by Erin A. Craig, and this is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, I think, where these 12 princesses are cursed, or 12 sisters are cursed, and Annalie is disturbed by a series of ghostly visions, and she's trying to figure out how to break the curse on her family. Because I think sisters keep dying, something like that. I haven't heard much about this, honestly. It is a standalone, so once I read this, I'm done, which is pretty great, especially because it's not that long. It's a little damaged, but whatever. I have owned this for a while, but I do hope to enjoy it. All right, the next book, honestly, I am so excited about, and I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. Maybe it's the same reason for Wolf Hall, and that is Fatal Throne. I don't know who it's by. I think it might be multiple authors, honestly. I'm not sure, but it is a YA retelling of Henry VIII and his 6 wives. It's short, so I'm like, do we get all of his wives? Yeah, we do. Catherine Howard now, Catherine Parr. So it's definitely short, and I think it's just like quick snippets of like their lives. I'm not sure, but I feel like I'm gonna be able to fly through this and enjoy it because I just love the time period. I know a lot about these queens, so I think I'll be able to just like easily read it, and I'm just excited, and I just need to do it. You know, I just need to do it. The next book I'm talking about is, it's a little, I'm a little nervous about it for multiple reasons, and that is Crave by Tracy Wolff. First reason why I'm nervous about it, it's huge. It's 500 and something pages. Second reason, it does feel a little bit like classic, vampire paranormal romance that has kind of lost traction, but I have heard good things about it, honestly. And this is, I think, about a girl who's like, she's in an academy, and I don't know why she's in this academy, but there's like vampires, and I don't know, I mean, this might be like that great like angst that I just haven't read in so long that is just gonna be like, you know, just like, yes, give me that like fun YA angst, because there's Jackson Vega, spelled Jaxon. He hasn't felt anything in 100 years, but he's gonna feel something for her. So, you know, I might just like, you know, it might be one of those that I just eat it up. I read it super fast, like Midnight Sun that came out. Well, I mean, I read it like last August, and I like read it in 2 days and loved it, even though that's like Edward, you know, so it's like that was Twilight. But I'm hoping that this kind of, you know, satiates that in me that I don't even know that like needs to be satiated until I, definitely pronouncing that wrong, but until I've like read something that does it. The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh did it. Twilight, Midnight Sun did it. You know, this might also be able to do it, where it just takes you back to that time where you know, we loved that guilty pleasure of Twilight and the slightly not great vampire romance. What am I thinking? What's the word? Like unhealthy vampire romances. And I'm kind of hoping that this might do it, because sometimes that's all you need in life. The next book I bought online, and it is huge. It's so much bigger than I thought it was gonna be, and I'm a little nervous again going into it, and that is A Declaration of the Rights of Magicians by H.G. Perry. This was a Barnes & Noble like book club pick, and I was just intrigued. And it is the Age of Enlightenment, a time of new and magical political movements, from the Mesmer Robespierre calling for a revolution in France to the weather mage Toussaint Louverture leading the fight for freedom in Saint-Domingue. I feel like I know how to pronounce these things, but like right now trying to say them out loud isn't working. Like Santa Domingue, to the bold new Prime Minister William Pitt. So I think it's like a retelling of like history with magic users, which I also love that. I love getting like historical, like actual historical things that happen with like fantastical elements, like what was that called? The Once and Future Witches being the suffragette movement, but with witches. So that, I'm really excited about it. I feel like this feels like that, so I'm pumped. The next book is definitely out of my comfort zone, and that is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a horror where I think the Indians are Native Canadians. And I think they disturb like a spirit or something, and so they are being haunted by this spirit because I think they killed this deer. I think that's what happens. It's very short. I read The Mannequin, Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones and hated it. So I am hoping that I enjoy his like full-length novel more. All right, we're in the home stretch. We've got 3 more books. And the next one is Creation Abomination by Alan W. Thompson. This is a local author, and on Black Friday, I was at Barnes & Noble, and the author was there like selling books and signing them. So, you know, you gotta buy a book when the author's there, especially when it's sci-fi fantasy. But I am a little nervous because it has to do with like abortion, and God, it's like, so like I feel like people are dying, and they found out that the way to like fix them is through embryonic stem cells. So like they have to kill unborn babies to be able to save people who are living. So I think there's a kind of commentary there about like who has more rights to life, which is can get very sticky, especially out here where I live, where the Mormon religion is very prevalent. Abortion is definitely a sin. I don't believe it is, but a lot of people out here do. I'm a little nervous about it. I'm a little nervous, but the author was there, and so, you know, I just had to. It's okay. It's not as long as I thought it was. It's heavy. It's very heavy, but it's not even 500 pages. So I'm a little nervous. I'm nervous. I'm nervous, gonna be honest. But who knows? I might love it. It might just like change my whole, like, it might blow my mind, because there is an opportunity for it to blow my mind. I feel like that sort of commentary about like whose life is worth more, like what does it mean? I feel like it could go a good way. It could also go a very bad way, be very preachy. we'll see. All right, the second book I've got is A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozlov. And so we've got a princess who's been exiled, and she has to master the magic that is her birthright, and she becomes a ruthless guerrilla fighter, and which is cool. And there's spirits, and so she's like, you know, working with a rebel group to like take back her throne. If she becomes a ruthless guerrilla fighter, I'm really hoping that she like becomes like an absolute badass. Like I feel like a lot of times, and this is adult fantasy, like I got this in the adult fantasy portion of Barnes & Noble, not like YA, but you know, I feel like so many times authors don't take that extra step to make their main character like actually do whatever's necessary. And I'm like, come on, like give me a main character who's willing to kill whoever she needs to take the throne. Like, give me a main character who's morally gray and becomes queen. Like, give me someone who's like willing to do actually whatever it takes, because they always say they're willing to do whatever it takes, but then they get morals and they're like, wait, but I can't kill people. It's like, yeah, you do. You gotta. All right, and then the last book I have to talk about, this is a long video, but you know, I own quite a few books, is The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. I am really excited about this. This is one that I've had on my TBR for such a long time. I mean, such a long time being last year. I know people do these videos and they've had books on their TBR for years and years and years. Up until 2020, I tried to clear out my own TBR by the end of every year. That had always been kind of my plan. That's what I did. And I just didn't last year because I didn't feel that need to do it. And I had wanted to start some of these series, like start of the new year, start new series. Well, it's halfway through the year and I have not started this series. And honestly, it's a trilogy and I don't know, I keep getting like a really bad synopsis of it, but there's a war and there's, I think a king dies, and the Storm King, who's like elf-like Scythe, she I think is how you pronounce it, but he's the king. He wants to take back his rightful place. And then a kitchen boy is like, he's apprenticed to a member of like a league that does something. I don't know if they're like against the humans or against the elves. And he like becomes embroiled in this whole political thing. That synopsis was so good. I know. I don't know. I'm doing this really bad. The synopsis was terrible. The covers are pretty terrible too. Like honestly, all of them look basically exactly like this. I don't love the covers, but I am excited. I think I've heard good things about Tad Williams. Yeah, he's written a fair amount of books, hasn't he? I feel like he has. I feel like I recognize the name, but who knows? I might be wrong. Oh, good. There's a whole like back section being like, here's what all these things mean. It's gonna be fun. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. As you can see, this is the stack of books that were on the shelf that you could see. And then I've got books scattered all around and I'm gonna have to put it all back. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them. And I will see you soon with another video.